Have you ever stared at your phone, wondering why your son or daughter hasn't called? Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. You replay old memories in your head. You remember the bedtime stories, the school pickups, the sacrifices, the years you spent making sure they were safe and loved. And yet now, the phone stays silent. Many parents assume the worst. They think, my child doesn't care anymore. They've forgotten everything I've done for them. Someone has turned them against me. But the truth is often much more complicated. When adult children stop calling their parents, it's rarely because of a single event. More often, it's the result of years of emotional experiences, changing priorities, unmet expectations, and relationship patterns that slowly create distance. Today, we're going to explore the real reasons why adult children stop calling their parents, and what both sides can learn from this painful reality. Let's begin. Part 1. Adulthood changes everything. One of the biggest misunderstandings parents have is expecting the parent-child relationship to stay the same forever. But adulthood changes the rules. When children are young, parents are naturally the center of their world. Parents provide food, shelter, guidance, and emotional support. Children depend on them. Then adulthood arrives. Suddenly, the child becomes responsible for building an entirely new life. They must manage careers, pay bills, navigate relationships, raise children of their own, handle stress, responsibilities, and decisions without parental supervision. What many parents experience as rejection is sometimes simply a shift in priorities. The adult child isn't necessarily choosing distance. They're choosing survival. Their energy is divided among work deadlines, financial obligations, marriages, parenting responsibilities, health concerns, and countless daily pressures. The relationship that once occupied the center of their life moves to a different place. Not because it lacks value, but because adulthood demands it. Unfortunately, many parents interpret this shift personally. They see fewer calls and assume less love. But frequency of contact and depth of love are not always the same thing. Some adult children think about their parents every day while only calling occasionally. The silence may hurt, but silence doesn't automatically mean indifference. Part 2. The weight of unresolved childhood experiences. Now let's discuss a more difficult truth. Sometimes adult children stop calling because the relationship itself feels emotionally painful. Many parents remember raising their children with love. And that's often true. But children don't only remember intentions. They remember experiences. Parent may have intended to motivate. The child remembers criticism. Parent may have intended discipline. The child remembers fear. Parent may have intended protection. The child remembers control. Neither perspective is necessarily false. They are simply different. As children mature, they begin reevaluating their upbringing through adult eyes. Events they once accepted without question may suddenly feel different. Old wounds can resurface. Conversations that seem normal to parents may trigger emotions rooted in decades-old experiences. If every phone call leaves an adult child feeling judged, dismissed, criticized, or emotionally exhausted, they may gradually reduce contact. Not because they hate their parents, but because they are trying to protect their emotional well-being. Many parents ask, why can't they just let the past go? The answer is simple. People can only let go of pain after it has been acknowledged. Pain that is denied often lingers. Pain that is understood can begin to heal. Part 3. The constant criticism trap. One of the most common reasons adult children avoid calling is surprisingly simple. They don't enjoy the conversation. Think about this carefully. Every relationship is shaped by emotional outcomes. People naturally move toward interactions that make them feel accepted and valued. And they move away from interactions that make them feel inadequate. Imagine an adult child calls home. Within minutes they hear, "You're working too much. You should lose weight. Why don't you visit more often? When are you going to buy a house? Your brother seems to have things figured out. That's not how I would do it." The parent may see these comments as concern. The child may experience them as criticism. Over time, the brain begins associating the phone call with stress. Eventually, Avoiding the call feels easier than enduring it. This dynamic can develop without either person realizing what's happening. The parent believes they're helping. The child feels judged, and the distance grows. The tragedy is that neither side may understand the other's experience. Part 4. They feel like they can never be good enough. Many adult children carry a hidden burden. They spend years trying to earn approval that never fully arrives. No achievement feels sufficient. No success feels complete. No accomplishment seems to generate lasting recognition. Perhaps they earned good grades. Then expectations increased. Perhaps they built a successful career. Then attention shifted to marriage. Perhaps they got married. Then pressure focused on grandchildren. The finish line keeps moving. The message they receive is subtle but powerful. You are always almost enough. Over time, this becomes emotionally exhausting. Some adult children eventually stop calling because every interaction feels like another performance review. Instead of feeling loved for who they are, they feel evaluated for what they have accomplished. And everyone eventually grows tired of auditioning for acceptance. Part 5. Different values create distance. Another major factor is changing values. Every generation is shaped by a different world. Parents and adult children often view life through entirely different lenses. They may disagree about careers, relationships, politics, religion, parenting, money, lifestyle choices, social issues. Sometimes these differences remain manageable. Other times they dominate every conversation. If every phone call becomes a debate, adult children may begin avoiding contact. Not because disagreement is impossible, but because constant conflict is exhausting. Healthy families learn to separate love from agreement. They understand that respecting someone's choices does not require sharing their opinions. When that distinction disappears, communication often suffers. People stop sharing. Then they stop calling. Then they stop reaching out altogether. Part 6. Emotional guilt can push people away. Here's something that surprises many parents. Guilt is often less effective than they think. In fact, it frequently creates the opposite result. Some parents say things like, "You never call anymore. I guess you're too busy for your family. We won't be around forever. You've forgotten where you came from." These statements usually come from hurt, but adult children often hear them as emotional pressure. Instead of inspiring connection, guilt creates anxiety. Instead of making the relationship feel welcoming, it makes it feel like an obligation. People rarely move toward relationships where every interaction begins with a reminder of their shortcomings. The more guilt becomes part of communication, the more some adult children withdraw. Not because they don't care, but because they feel emotionally trapped. Part 7. They are building their own family. For many adults, marriage and parenthood dramatically change relationship priorities. This shift can be painful for parents to witness. For decades, they were the primary family unit. Now someone else occupies that role. A spouse, partner, children. The adult child's attention naturally flows toward the household they are building. This isn't betrayal. It's a normal developmental transition. Healthy family systems recognize this evolution. Parents eventually move from being managers of their children's lives to supporters of their children's independence. When parents resist this transition, tension often emerges. The adult child feels torn between competing loyalties. Eventually, many choose distance to reduce conflict. The very effort to stay close can sometimes push people further away. Part 8. Technology has changed communication. There's another factor many people overlook. Communication itself has changed. Older generations often associate closeness with phone calls. You call because you care. You talk because you're connected. But younger generations frequently communicate differently. Text messages, voice notes, photos, social media interactions, quick updates throughout the day. An adult child may feel connected because they've sent photos, texts, and messages all week. Parent may feel abandoned because the phone never rang. Both people believe they're maintaining the relationship. They're simply measuring connection differently. This mismatch creates misunderstandings. The parent sees absence. The child sees ongoing communication. Neither side is entirely wrong. They're speaking different relational languages. Part 9. Some adult children are healing. In recent years, conversations about mental health have become more common. As a result, many adults are examining old relationship patterns more closely. Some discover unresolved trauma. Others recognize unhealthy boundaries. Some begin therapy. Others start learning about emotional health. During this process, relationships often change. An adult child may reduce contact temporarily while working through complicated emotions. Parents sometimes interpret this as punishment. But for many people, it's part of a healing journey. They are trying to understand themselves, understand their history, understand their relationships. Growth often requires reflection. Reflection sometimes creates distance. That distance may be temporary, or it may become permanent, but it is usually rooted in emotional needs, not cruelty. Part 10. What adult children wish their parents knew. If many adult children could speak completely honestly, they might say something like this: I don't need perfection. I don't expect you to rewrite history. I don't need you to agree with every choice I make. I don't need endless advice. What I need is to feel safe being myself. I need conversations that don't leave me feeling smaller. I need curiosity instead of judgment. I need acceptance instead of constant correction. I need a relationship where I can relax. At the core of most estranged relationships is not a lack of love. It's a lack of emotional safety. People stay close to those who make them feel understood. People drift from those who consistently make them feel unseen. Part 11. What parents wish their children knew. The story, however, isn't one-sided. Parents carry pain too. Many spent decades sacrificing for their children. They worked long hours, lost sleep, worried constantly, put their own needs aside. Now they sit in quiet homes wondering where the years went. Many parents aren't trying to control. They're trying to stay connected. They aren't criticizing because they dislike their children. They're speaking the only language of concern they've ever known. Some were raised in households where affection was rarely expressed. Advice became their version of love. Correction became their version of caring. Worry became their version of attachment. They may not realize how their words are received. Behind many frustrated parents is a grieving heart. They miss the relationship they once had. They miss being needed. They miss hearing their child's voice. And beneath the frustration is often sadness. Deep sadness. Part 12. Rebuilding the connection. So what can be done? The answer begins with empathy. Not blame. Not defensiveness. Not keeping score. Empathy. Parents can ask, what is my child experiencing when they talk to me? Adult children can ask, what emotions might my parent be carrying? Relationships heal when people become curious about each other's reality. Parents who listen without immediately correcting often see dramatic changes. Adult children who communicate openly rather than disappearing completely create opportunities for understanding. Small changes matter. A conversation without criticism. A call without guilt. A question without judgment. A disagreement without hostility. Trust is rebuilt one interaction at a time. Not through grand gestures, but through consistent emotional safety. Conclusion. If your adult child has stopped calling, remember this: the silence may not mean they don't love you. It may mean they're overwhelmed. It may mean they're hurt. It may mean they're busy building a life. It may mean they're trying to establish boundaries. Or it may mean the relationship needs healing. Every situation is different, but one truth remains constant. Most people want connection. Most people want understanding. Most people want relationships where they can be loved without fear of criticism, guilt, or rejection. The phone may be silent today, but understanding often opens doors that pressure never can. And sometimes the first step toward hearing someone's voice again is learning to hear their experience first. Because in the end, strong family relationships aren't built on obligation. They're built on trust, respect, understanding, and the feeling that both people are truly seen. And that's what keeps people calling, not because they have to, but because they want to.